I'm sorry, I'm a bit arrogant. We have a top manager. Please don't call me arrogant, because what I'm saying is simply true. I am a European champion. I'm not just out of the bottle. I think I am a special one. The special one has returned. Now, La Liga and all of European football might have a massive problem again. Jose Mourinho is back. It's here we go at Real Madrid. Isn't this exactly what football is about? Jose Mourinho returns to Real Madrid 13 years later, but this isn't the same squad he once turned into a 100-point monster. This club just suffered a disastrous season. Barcelona stole La Liga after beating Madrid 2-0 in El Clasico, a complete Champions League collapse, a Copa del Rey humiliation, dressing room brawls with Valverde and Tchouameni, tactical chaos and heavy tension around Kylian Mbappe despite 85 goals. Xabi Alonso did improve the football. He fixed combinations, linked Güler and Mbappe centrally, and even saved Rodrigo's form. But Madrid's issues had grown way beyond tactics. The locker room simply stopped being a united front. So Florentino Perez turned back to the only manager who already dragged Real Madrid out of a deep psychological collapse once before. The same Mourinho who shattered Barcelona's dominance with a record-breaking 100-point title. The exact same man who turned Madrid from round of 16 failures into absolute mentality monsters. He built one of the most ruthless counter-attacking teams Europe ever saw. But this time, he is walking into a dressing room packed with superstar egos. Social media pressure, player factions, contract drama, endless injuries, and two global superstars, Mbappe and Vinicius, both demanding to be the absolute center. That is exactly why this could become one of the greatest rebuilds in modern football history, or the biggest implosion Real Madrid has ever witnessed. Because if football history teaches us anything, Jose Mourinho is always most dangerous when the room is already on fire. That is why La Liga should be genuinely terrified. Here is the thing about Madrid's massive collapse that nobody can quite explain away. They had Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham, Rodrigo, Valverde, Tchouameni, Courtois, Militao, and Güler. Enough pure talent to frighten any team in Europe, yet they still fell apart. That isn't a talent issue. It's something much more uncomfortable. By the end of the season, Madrid lost their clear identity. They look like a random collection of elite players trying to solve totally different problems at once. The warning signs flashed before the collapse hit. In Ancelotti's final days, Madrid still produced magic moments. A Bellingham late arrival, a Vinicius run, an Mbappe finish, but the tactical structure underneath was quietly rotting. The press lacked coordination. The midfield was forced to cover way too much ground. The back line looked completely exposed whenever Madrid lost the ball up high. They were still deadly, but absolutely unstable. That was the core contradiction of late Ancelotti Madrid. In transition, they had terrifying speed. Without the ball, they looked hopelessly stretched. With Mbappe and Vinicius staying high, you got two explosive outlets, but you also left Valverde, Tchouameni, and Bellingham covering massive amounts of empty space against top teams. That imbalance became impossible to hide and easy to exploit. Xabi Alonso's arrival was supposed to fix it. Honestly, he didn't come empty-handed. Xabi's Madrid wasn't tactically empty. We saw clear attempts to build better positional play, trying to link the midfield and attack much earlier. They tried breaking the old habit of feeding Vinicius out wide and begging him to manufacture pure magic from nothing. In some matches, the chemistry between Güler and Mbappe looked genuinely electric. Güler finding central pockets while Mbappe attacked the gaps between defenders. Rodrigo even looked more involved, mostly because the attack wasn't constantly forced down one single flank. But Madrid's issues had already grown beyond tactics. Xabi could provide great passing patterns. He just couldn't control the massive personalities running those patterns. That was the real issue. A tactical setup only works when superstars sacrifice for it. If forwards won't press, the midfield just gets stretched thin. If wingers fail to track back in time, the fullbacks are left totally isolated. When stars chase personal glory over collective structure, the entire system breaks, and it breaks exactly where elite opponents will punish you the hardest. That is why the Mbappe and Vinicius dilemma got uncomfortable so fast. On paper, a dream partnership. In reality, it sparked a constant tactical argument that simply never got resolved. Both are lethal in open space, both demand freedom, and both drain the emotional energy of the entire squad. But when both camp up high, Madrid gets exposed. The front line looks terrifying going forward, yet the defensive shape behind them loses all compactness. That isn't a small flaw. It's the exact kind of problem that slowly bleeds league titles in November, February and March, rather than one bad week. Injuries made a bad situation worse. Militao kept losing his rhythm. Mendy's fitness faded until he finally needed surgery on a severe thigh injury. Tchouameni's constant availability issues completely shattered the midfield continuity all season long. Even Trent Alexander-Arnold, who signed to give Madrid a fresh creative spark from the right-back spot. Injuries ruined any chance of building a consistent tactical identity. Xabi was never working with a settled starting lineup. He tried forcing tactical order onto a soccer squad, shifting constantly in both fitness and morale. Tough enough for a veteran football manager. For a relatively new coach, it was an absolute mountain. Then the campaign just fell apart. That Copa del Rey exit, a brutal early humiliation for the club. Knocked out 3-2 by second division Albacete in January. A nightmare result that made Arbeloa's managerial start instantly catastrophic. Then came that Champions League disaster against Bayern Munich, losing 4-3 on the night and 6-4 on aggregate. For a football institution graded solely on European glory, that wasn't just disappointment, that was complete failure. Then Barcelona stepped up and finished the job. On May 10th, Barca crushed Real Madrid 2-0 in El Clasico to clinch La Liga. Worse than a defeat, Madrid watched bitter rivals steal the championship trophy right in their face. Barcelona's 29th Spanish League crown, under Hansi Flick, sent one very clear, very loud message. Barca was suddenly the smarter domestic squad again, better connected, completely united as a unit. That exact moment shifted the psychology. Madrid weren't just dropping points, they were getting emotionally buried. Barca moved like a team. Madrid felt like a massive identity crisis, and all that toxic dressing room drama just poured gasoline on the fire. The breaking point? Valverde and Tchouameni getting fined 500,000 euros each. A training ground brawl supposedly left Valverde with a head injury. At Real Madrid, training fights are never just two guys blowing off steam. It means the brutal pressure had bled off the pitch, soaking right into the walls of Valdebebas. When that happens, bad passes get personal. Media leaks turn deeply political. Every drop point proves this elite squad is no longer functioning together. That is why the Mbappe and Vinicius drama caused so much harm. You don't even need a confirmed civil war to wreck a football club. The minute fans and media divide a roster into factions, you know the dressing room is already gone. Every single pass gets overanalyzed. Every tactical sub feels like a secret insult. Goal celebrations turn into body language clues. This is exactly how massive clubs quietly spiral out. Not overnight, it happens through 1,000 little rumors piling up over the season. Mbappe naturally became the lightning rod because his hype was never normal. Madrid didn't sign him to be great, they bought him to define an entire era. Even while dropping huge stats, the chatter around him symbolized every single thing going wrong. An online petition begging Madrid to sell him actually hit 30 million signatures, all while he had banged in 85 goals across 2 seasons. 30 million fans demanding the club dump a striker with 85 goals in 2 years. If that doesn't sum up this total circus, nothing will. Then Arbeloa tossed a match onto the powder keg. Mbappe openly claimed Arbeloa called him the 4th forward right before benching him against Rayo. Coming on as a sub, his own supporters violently whistled him inside the Bernabeu. Just a brutal scene. The biggest global superstar on the roster, back from injury, treated not like a savior, but like an unwanted problem in his home stadium. Vinicius had his own parallel drama brewing. His rift with Xabi Alonso was painfully long-running. Constant tactical friction, plus this glaring feeling he was respected way less than under Ancelotti. The explosion happened at the Club World Cup semi-final. Xabi almost benched him, then shoved him out to the right wing, a spot Vinicius absolutely hated and complained about loudly. That is huge, because Vinicius used to be Madrid's emotional heartbeat. Pre-Mbappe, the entire offense flowed through him. The Bernabeu fed off his energy, his swagger, the ruthless dribbling, that fiery personality. He literally was Madrid's identity. Then Mbappe landed, and Vinicius lost his crown as the untouchable main man. That single shift poisoned the locker room vibes, broke the tactical setup, and totally flipped the hierarchy. Nothing is ever quiet or simple at Real Madrid. That is exactly why Jose Mourinho suddenly sounded so appealing. They didn't need another tactical genius. Xabi brought plenty of tactics. Arbeloa offered extreme loyalty and history. but completely lacked the gravitas to control these massive egos. Ancelotti had elite experience, yet even his legendary calm failed to mask the chaos. Madrid desperately needed a boss who could stare down a room packed with multi-million-dollar Galacticos and remind them who actually runs things. By the time Mourinho's name dropped, Madrid's real issue wasn't Barcelona, Bayern Munich, or bad injury luck. The terrifying truth? They stopped acting like a football club, turning into 11 isolated superstars fighting over the spotlight. Florentino Perez isn't chasing Mourinho for some brand new clever tactical setup. They tried all that. Ancelotti brought peace. Xabi Alonso offered structure. Arbeloa gave them club DNA. The real missing piece was pure, terrifying authority, which is why the Mourinho rumors make perfect sense. Back when he first arrived in 2010, Madrid wasn't this unstoppable European monster. Wealthy and famous, sure, but incredibly fragile. Pre-Mourinho, they choked in 6 straight Champions League rounds of 16. His 2010-11 squad finally smashed that curse, dragging Madrid back to the semi-finals. And Perez remembers that script perfectly. Back then, Madrid juggled Cristiano Ronaldo, Benzema, Kaká, Xabi Alonso, Sergio Ramos, Casillas and Marcelo. Massive egos, suffocating pressure. But Barcelona set the standard. Guardiola's men weren't just winning matches. They broke opponents mentally, made them feel completely helpless. So Florentino Perez chased the one manager who had already crushed Guardiola where it actually mattered. Back in 2010, Mourinho's Inter knocked Barca out of the Champions League semi-finals, winning 3-2 on aggregate. The first leg ended 3-1 at San Siro. The return leg? Classic Mourinho tactical survival. Inter defended deep, soaked up endless pressure, blocked the middle, and struck the open space whenever Barcelona pushed too high. That was his pure formula. No pretty football, no possession games, just control through raw suffering and discipline. Control by dragging the opponent into an absolute dogfight they hated. When he carried that dark art to Madrid, the shift was far from instant magic. His very first Clásico? A brutal 5-0 humiliation. His debut European campaign still crashed into Barcelona, but slowly, Madrid stopped flinching. They got nasty, more direct, mentally bulletproof. The breakthrough finally hit at the 2011 Copa del Rey final. Madrid edged Barca 1-0 in extra time at Mestalla, Cristiano Ronaldo heading the winner. The next season was the true statement. Mourinho's 2012 Madrid hit 100 points, scoring 121 league goals. They won 32 games, rocking a plus 89 goal difference. This completely shatters that lazy Mourinho is defensive myth. This was arguably the most ruthless counter-attacking team modern Spain has ever witnessed. Ronaldo relentlessly hunted the left channel. Di Maria brought destruction from the right. Ozil fired early passes. Benzema and Higuain brutally exposed the gaps. Xabi Alonso triggered the very first pass. Then, within seconds, Madrid flipped a defensive block right into a lethal scoring chance. Pure controlled aggression at maximum speed. That is exactly what Perez remembers. Mourinho didn't just lift a league trophy. He made Madrid truly believe they could stare Barcelona down again. No, he didn't win a Champions League there. That fact probably still haunts him today. But he completely rewired the club's European DNA. Following years of round of 16 failures, he dragged Madrid to 3 straight Champions League semi-finals. That massive mental shift laid the groundwork for La Decima under Ancelotti in 2014. So when Perez studies today's Madrid, he sees beyond tactics. He sees a very familiar flaw. A superstar squad packed with enough raw talent to win it all, but lacking the discipline to suffer together. That makes Mourinho incredibly tempting. Today's Real Madrid is just 2-player driven. Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham, Rodrigo, Valverde, Tchouameni. These are not your average players. They are massive global brands carrying tactical preferences, giant fan bases, commercial power, and heavy emotional influence. A gentle coach manages that perfectly while winning. But when Barcelona starts stacking trophies, the Champions League run dies in the quarters, and the locker room leaks tension. Softness quickly feels like weakness. Perez isn't hunting for fresh innovation anymore. The man wants absolute control, and that is exactly where Mourinho stands apart from the rest. Xabi Alonso offers solid structure. Arbeloa brings pure Madridismo. Ancelotti provides that steady calm, but Jose Mourinho guarantees hierarchy. He won't stroll into a dressing room asking who feels cozy. He He kicks the door in and reminds the megastars that comfort means absolutely nothing. Plus, his tactical style perfectly matches the weapons Madrid already holds. Mbappe is brutally devastating attacking open space. Vinicius peaks when he forces terrified defenders to backpedal. Jude Bellingham is a nightmare arriving late into the box. Instead of carrying the whole creative load himself, Valverde looks perfectly built for Mourinho's football. Intensity, sacrifice, vertical runs, pure defensive aggression. Tchouameni hands him the heavy midfield shield he always craves. Look, this squad wasn't built for sleepy possession. It is totally wired for speed, absolute power, rapid transitions, and intense emotional warfare, which drags Barcelona right back into the frame. Hansi Flick's Barcelona have seized back domestic power, bagging back-to-back La Liga titles. They literally clinched 2026 against Madrid on May 10th. Mourinho wouldn't enter a quiet room. He'd walk into a league where Barca are already miles ahead, completely confident, feeling deeply, emotionally superior. Honestly, that is the exact chaotic environment he craves. Sure, Mourinho won't hand Madrid Europe's most elegant brand of football. He refuses to dominate pointless possession, but he makes them compact, ruthlessly direct, hostile, and absolutely miserable to play against. Mbappe and Vinicius become terrifying counterattacking missiles. He turns Bellingham right back into a vertical monster. He transforms Valverde into his most loyal soldier, but most crucially, he ensures Madrid feels feared all over again. That is why Perez is glancing back toward Mourinho. Not because Madrid forgot how to play the sport, they just forgot who was actually in charge. And here's the part nobody can ignore. Mourinho might just be the hard reset this locker room desperately needs, but he's also the exact personality who could twist existing tension into absolute destruction. There is zero middle ground here. It either ends up totally legendary or a smoking crater. The warning signs are already stamped across his past stops at Chelsea, Madrid, United, and Roma. This exact pattern happens so often it literally became football folklore. The infamous third season syndrome. By year 3 at his English and Spanish jobs, the clubs always hit a massive crashing decline. Locker room fractures or dramatic exits happened every single time. That is the core threat. Mourinho's ultimate superpower is emotional control. His fatal flaw? Pure emotional overload. He cranks the intensity, invents phantom enemies, and locks the dressing room into a war bunker for 2 years until they feel genuinely untouchable. Soon as the winds dry up, that magical team spirit turns pure toxic in a heartbeat. This isn't your average locker room. He is stepping straight into the age of player power and mega personal brands. Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham, we're not just talking about footballers here. They are global corporations wearing the same jersey. He will demand defensive sacrifice from Mbappe, emotional focus from Vinicius, tactical discipline from Bellingham, and he needs Valverde and Tchouameni to stop sulking and start acting like a real midfield spine again. It might be a masterstroke, or it could blow up in 6 months. Neither Mbappe nor Vinicius are quiet guys who just follow orders. Both demand total freedom. Both want the attack built around them. But Mourinho's setup simply doesn't let forwards switch off when they lose the ball. Refuse to press, he will call you out. Ignore his tactical instructions, you hit the bench. And if someone tries to spark a media war, Mourinho has been fighting those exact battles for 25 years. Today's players hate getting publicly dragged. And modern fan bases treat every single substitution like a massive crisis. At Real Madrid, that pressure gets multiplied 10 times over. But honestly, that is exactly why the rest of the league should sweat. Mourinho is always at his lethal best when the house is on fire. Barcelona just wrapped up the 2026 title on May 10th, handing Hansi Flick a deal until 2028. So Mourinho is not walking into a quiet scene here. The real threat isn't Mourinho making Madrid play beautiful soccer. The real fear is him making them emotionally ruthless again, compact, direct, entirely hostile. Using Mbappe and Vinicius as lethal open space weapons, turning every El Clasico into a total nightmare for Barcelona. Perez is betting on fear over tactics. It could absolutely burn the club to ashes. But if it works, Spain won't just face Real Madrid. They will face a squad driven by pure anger, a totally bruised ego, led by a football manager who built his whole legacy turning shattered dressing rooms into weapons. A broken locker room is exactly where Jose Mourinho finds his edge. It isn't a coincidence. That is the entire point.